Hello. Welcome, welcome. If you're new, welcome. I don't have the tolerance or the patience to do any of that sort of like YouTube housekeeping sort of things because I'm just so used to free flowing and just sharing all the time, constantly in the Patreon community that it gives me pause to share to YouTube because there's a part of me that feels like, oh, there's more people that don't know me there, so I need to be more official or I need to like be a little bit more structured. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. So, hi. um, this is a message that's coming through really strongly, and I just felt like it was like I said, there's been so much clarity coming through, so the messages have been coming in like daily, multiple times a day, and I've been sharing it all to the Patreon as I've shared with you guys here on YouTube before, that's where you can find me and have access to all of my downloads and transmissions, and that's kind of where I'm giving most of my support and energy at this time, aside from client sessions. But this one felt really big and really important, and it came through in a client session actually, and it just was such a powerful energy to channel and such a powerful just clarity, just huge clarity, the nature of these connections. What is it all for? What is it all about? And I just felt guided to share it here with you guys. And so faith, right? We've heard that word a lot. This is a test of faith. It's a major, major test of trusting yourself, your inner knowing, trusting what you feel. I remember many, many years before I met my twin, because here's the thing, if you're a twin flame, you're on the twin flame journey from birth, right? And I think if you're a light worker, you're on the light worker journey from birth, and you it may be not until you're an adult, unless you have amazing parents, but it might not be until you're an adult that you kind of figure all this stuff out and you start to like make it make sense and you place it all. But you're still on the journey, right? And so I was having a lot of mirrored experiences in my life with people, relationships, friends, romantic partners, family, people out in the world, jobs, etc., all that stuff, where I just had so many experiences where I recognized what I call the gaslighting, that what people would say, but then what I would feel from them were always in conflict. And basically like this disconnect between what we see. And I always guide clients like, what you see on social media is not the truth, right? And I know a lot of people that teach that, and that's definitely kind of a hurdle on these journeys that I think a lot have to go through, is like when they're spying on somebody on social media, they're only getting half the perspective, half, if even that, right? So it's a test to trust what we feel, the energy, what we know in our hearts, the telepathic communication, the dreams, the synchronicities, the signs, all that stuff, over what we see, trusting what we feel over what we see. And so for me, on this journey of life, this incarnation that I've been on, I had a lot of pain around that, because I just felt like adults were always lying to me. And when I was super young, I would call them out. And adults really don't like when children call them out, or at least these adults didn't, because they were not fully embodied in their light or their love by any means. And so there was a lot of conflict, especially in my early life, because I knew I was being gaslit, and my inclination, probably because of my astrology and things like that, was to fight. It was, to go to war, go to battle, right? The indigo children are kind of like this, I think, until the world, gets to them hard enough. And then they eventually kind of lie down and just say, okay, fine. Now I know that I can't trust the world. And unfortunately, what that creates is a distrust within yourself as well, because you start to, it's that faith test, right? Where you're like, okay, well, the world is telling me this, I feel this, but this is what everyone else is saying. And so that's that journey that so many of us are on. And then it can manifest, especially if you're on a twin flame journey, because I think all light workers have to go through that, by the way. But then if you're on a twin flame journey, it kind of manifests in relationships, right? Where it's like, if somebody says like, oh, I'm not interested, I'm not into you, right? And you're like, really? Because energy doesn't lie. Like, I can feel your energy towards me, right? I can feel like, if you were repelled by me, I would naturally kind of move away from you, right? Magnetism, and it's like energy, like attracts like. So there's this, sometimes we'll have conflicts with people, but again, even within that conflict, there is a magnetism, there is an attraction, because there's a soul connection. There's a lesson that has to happen there, right? our greatest enemies, you know, are actually our greatest teachers, our greatest friends, so to speak, in that sense, in the spiritual higher perspective. But so I started adopting this this phrase where it was like, energy doesn't lie. And I would trust myself in jobs or in interacting with friends. You know, when someone would tell me, oh, their relationship's going great and they're super happy and they're like, yeah, I'm doing really well. And this was before I even classified myself as being psychic or clairvoyant or having these capabilities. Like, I did not own that within myself until I was further along my ascension, or I should say awakening and spiritual path. And so I just started adopting that as like a little reminder. It was like a little mantra, you know, where I was like, okay, energy doesn't lie. So if I'm feeling that my friend is really unhappy and there might be some darkness and abuse going on in that relationship that I'm sensing, but she's telling me she's okay. Okay, energy doesn't lie. And then I would be guided towards steps in letting this person know I'm there for them and I'm here and I'm a safe space, right? And the same thing in romantic relationships. You know, I would always be like, okay, this person can't stop calling me or wanting to hang out, and yet they're saying no, like, I'm not interested, or I'm not interested in that way, and yet they're the one initiating all the sexual sort of energy. I'm like, okay, energy doesn't lie, right? And sometimes there wasn't really much for me to do with that information, but what I didn't see at the time was it was strengthening my belief and my knowing and my faith within myself, that there was a difference between what I see and what's true, what I feel, what I see and what I feel, and learning to honor and put my faith in what I feel as the truth with my heart. And so I think in that sense, spirit set me up to be doing that work way prior to the twin flame initiation and activation, probably because I was always here to help you guys. Like, this was part of my life path, that I was going to be on this journey simultaneously alongside you, but also having that deep faith connection that had already been tested in my early life. And I'd already gone through so many different phases and iterations of lessons around that I was a little bit more prepared to help affirm these journeys for you guys. Because so many of you that come and see me in sessions over these years, you're brilliant. Like, you're magnificent. And most of the time, these sessions are like, you can't even see your own magnificence, right? So it's really just me helping you shift into the higher perspective that your higher self is already giving you, but you are most likely in some way denying it. You are most likely in some way not believing it within yourself, right? And of course, your coach, your friend, your lover, your partners, your family, I mean, they can tell you as many times as they want how amazing and brilliant you are, but until you believe that within yourself, you won't be able to fully receive it. And more so, I'm going to correct that. Until you start gifting yourself the magnificence and brilliance of who you are through self-actualization, through self-awareness, through self-love, you won't really be able to trust people that are telling you you're brilliant or you're great or you're magnificent, right? And that can be a very long healing journey. That can be a slow process to start to ungaslight yourself, especially if you've had really toxic relationships and experiences, maybe with family and childhood, that have really, really taught you to not trust yourself. And then you start to question yourself, right? Because when you break your trust with yourself, oof, that's a hard one to repair. That's a hard one to repair. But of course, these journeys kind of thrust us into that where, I don't want to say we don't get a choice, because we always have a choice, but at the same time, we're thrust into that where it's like, okay, like, we have to learn to trust ourselves. Because when I tune into the perspective of the world and the gaslighting of the world, and I look at something like social media, it causes me deep pain, and it causes me to not trust myself, and it causes me confusion. It causes me a lack of clarity. It causes me to get into my head, and it causes me, physical body issues as well, like manifestations of symptoms and things like that can come up. It also blocks connection for me in the world, because then I'm fearful and I'm going out into the world feeling like everyone is against me, or I can't trust this person, or I can't trust that person. But the thing is when you heal that relationship within yourself and you trust you can trust your own intuition, you can trust your discernment, so that you know that you're never led astray, because you always know how to see that higher perspective from the higher self, from your magnificence. Your brilliance shows you the truth of every situation through the higher self. So even if you get into a relationship with somebody, any type of relationship, and it ends quote unquote badly, right? It ends in drama or pain. When you're coming from that wounded place where you haven't quite self-actualized, you're not self-loving yet, you're not fully self-loving, you might blame yourself, and you might go into your head, how did I mess up? How did I do this wrong? And unfortunately, what that does is that also attracts people that are going to affirm that perspective to you. So you are going to attract narcissists. You are going to attract, and I know the label of the narcissist, right? It's such a hot button subject, but unfortunately our world is full of them. But it attracts these people that are going to align to that very materialistic worldview. That's very disconnected from their spirituality, disconnected from their heart, very focused on what can you give me? What can you do for me? Right? Users and abusers, if you will. Because if you're using and abusing yourself, as within, so without, right? Like attracts like. And it's a hard lesson. And I feel like, especially twin flames, like we all learn this in one way or another with people, right? And a lot of times our twin will just model that wounding to us, model it, mirror it back to us so that we really start to, it's like, I always see this imagery of like in A Clockwork Orange where they like peel his eyeballs open where he can't not look away or he has to look. That's kind of the imagery they always show me for the twin flame journey, which is really kind of grotesque. But that's kind of what these journeys are like in a way, right? It's like the divine's like, yeah, you do have a choice, but we're peeling your eyes open so you can't look away. So sure, you have a choice. That's how it feels anyways. But that's probably just because we are already so connected to our higher selves and our mission of love and healing that, of course, that's what we want. Like what we want wants us to. And of course, we're connected into that higher perspective, right? Okay, so the beautiful, beautiful simplicity that's arriving through clarity in this now moment and where we all are collectively in these twin flame journeys, is it's a test of faith. It's all about faith. And if you haven't healed the relationship to yourself, the trust of yourself, the faith of yourself, then you are kind of blindly walking through relationships and interactions with other people. And it's going to be really hard because anytime you come up against a conflict or a challenge in relationship with someone else, like let's say you disagree. Okay? Of course you're going to disagree. We're meant to disagree. We are meant to have different opinions. And especially when you're talking about twins, by the way, because you are split. You are a split soul. So one of you gets this polarity, the other gets this polarity. One of you likes to wake up early, one of you likes to stay up late. And that's a simple, silly little thing, but it's true. It's like, one of you is a master at emotions. The other is a master at the material world and manifesting materially, grounded things. That doesn't mean this person is selfish and money obsessed. No, it just means this is their mastery. This is their gift. Whereas this person's mastery and gift is this. When you combine forces, it all kind of makes sense, right? We need each other. We really do. But when we're too stuck into this fear of conflict, or when we're not affirming ourselves, when we're not self-actualizing ourselves, and it's not that you have to be perfect, by the way, either. You just have to be in that process. You have to be connected enough to your higher self to be able to see when you're coming out of that alignment, when you are listening to the devil on your shoulder instead of the angel, when you are sinking into that self-judgment, self-deprecation, like bullying yourself, right? And so when conflict arises in any sort of relationship, and you're not fully in this deep knowing and faith and trust of yourself, trust of what you feel, trust in your heart, trust in knowing what is true, you're going to feel very challenged by somebody, by that conflict. And so one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to buckle and kind of people please, right? That's that codependency. I would argue it's all codependency, just different sides of the same coin. So you're either going to buckle and you're just going to placate that person and say what they want to hear or agree with them, even though inside you're in conflict, which honestly is very cruel if you think about it. That's not very loving to that person because you're kind of gaslighting that person. And I know that people pleasers really think that they're trying to not rock the boat and they're trying to eliminate harm, but they're actually creating a lot of harm. And it's also a little bit egotistical in a way too, when you really look at it, because it's like, you're not trusting this person's capabilities enough. You're not trusting the relationship enough to disagree. And for that to be okay, you're not giving this person this opportunity to be in true intimacy and presence with you, because you're thinking that you're really seeing yourself as the center of the universe. And if you disagree with this person, that you think that it's going to rock them so much that they won't be able to handle it. Now, I understand when you are in complicated, maybe toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, where it's been time and time again, where this person, every time you do disagree, there is a conflict. That's the type of situation where that's enough of a sign to remove yourself. But we're not really talking about that in this transmission, but that's something to note. That is something to notice, that this person can't handle me in my fullness. This person cannot be in a true intimate relationship with me because they don't love themselves enough to do so, and to be open and okay with conflict, to be open and okay with disagreeing. So it's never going to be a balanced relationship. There's never going to be equal give and take, because you may be okay with the disagreement. You may be like, oh, this is interesting. Let's explore this. Let's dive into this. Let's figure out what this is. Or we can honestly always come to like, I totally respect you and I respect that you feel that way. And here's how I feel. And we don't have to agree. And that's okay too. But that can only come from self-love. That can only come from self-actualization. And so truly, it gets harder and harder to be in relationship with someone as you ascend and you grow and you get stronger and stronger in your self-love, because there's very few people out in the world, even within the twin flame community, that are operating from that level of faith, right? Faith in self, faith in their heart, trusting what they feel over what they see, right? Energy doesn't lie. And so this disagreement, this contraction, it can, so it's either someone either kind of, thank you. I'm getting back to what I was saying. So this person either falls into codependency in the expression of, yeah, I agree with you. Totally. You're right. Even though they're whatever. And then that creates a break in the trust. There's no intimacy there. Or this person wants to fight it. Right. So, which only severs the trust more, because now it's conflict and now we're enemies and now it's us against it's me against you. And now it's like fighting to the death. And then there's all of the wounding in the childhood and all the stories and all the things that come up in that process of the conflict and the fight of like, this person doesn't understand me. This person doesn't really love me. This person doesn't, and even the most, let's say, enlightened person in the world, 222 on my clock as I'm saying this, can struggle with staying in their higher self and not being triggered by the conflict. Right. And not right. And we've all been there. And I know we've all been there. So that we know where that leads to. And eventually that's the type of, it's the couples that, I'm just thinking of that like bicker constantly. And there's no trust. And it's over the stupidest shit. It's like over the stupidest things, but it's a power dynamic. It's a power struggle. Right. And there's been countless books written on this, about this. And it's been, a lot of the books have been about men versus women, but of course there's the same sex couples as well that still deal with this, because it's all about energy. It's the power dynamic. It's the power play. Who's wearing the pants? Who's calling the shots? Right. And all that is two egos, which is the wounding. Right. But when you really, really love yourself, you don't need to do that. You don't need to engage in that. And you're perfectly okay with the disagreement. Right. But not everyone's able to meet you there. And so I know that this transmission, I want to focus mainly on faith, but they're just kind of, as I'm sitting here talking, which is always what happens as I start opening my mouth, they start bringing all these kind of new pathways that we can go down. But let me go to my notes really quick to make sure that I'm saying everything I want to say. Under this energy, I have to have notes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So many of us as light workers are beings that are here to conjure the light. And so some of us have these missions and these paths to actually be sent into dark places. Okay. Be sent into very shadowy, dark energies. And then to conjure that light. And this is not something that we're thinking about. This isn't something that we have to like get into our head and be like, okay, step 1, step 2. No, it's not that at all. This is just our being. We have earned this from all the work that we've done. And this is something we signed up for when we said that we want to be volunteer souls, that we want to be here in service to humanity. We want to be in the mission of divine love and ascension timelines on earth. Okay. So this was something we signed up for, of being able to conjure the light. And sometimes when you're drawn into this dark sort of place, you shine your light and people are going to have reactions to that. They might get triggered. They might want to kind of dim your light. They might, run away from you just completely, like want nothing to do with you. They might create a lot of stories in their head of why you can shine your light, but they can't. It's cool that you can, dude, but I'm not allowed to shine my light. Like, it's cool that you're like that. There's all these different things, but sometimes we're drawn into these situations simply just to witness what's going on. And sometimes they are very dark. Sometimes, like, for example, for me, I've been called into situations with people I really care about where I see a entity, a battle with an entity, right? You can think of it as like a thought form. You can think of it as like a devil energy, a wound, a trauma, something that happened in childhood. But I see it literally as an entity, and it's like a karmic attachment, and it's this person is giving their consent to that attachment. I just want to make that clear. You always kind of have to give your consent, even though it can be like covert. And even though most people have no conscious idea that they're giving their consent to this, in some way or another, they are. But so what will happen is I'll be called into that situation and I will witness it through the eyes of love, through my heart. And sometimes I will be guided to say things or take actions or do things, but most of the time, it's really just me offering my energy and attention to the space and witnessing it, that conjures the light, that summons the divine karmic cleanup. And then I usually get removed from the situation immediately. So let's say this is someone I was very close to, and then all of a sudden, it's like I'm removed. Like I'm completely removed. Like this person is no longer in my life. They're gone. They're just gone like that, you know, and they may come back, but they're gone because now the divine justice has been called in and the divine protects me from that from that karmic cleanup, because it's not my karma. It was just me being in service to witness what was going on here and conjure the light, which as light workers, that's literally what we're doing. Hence the name light workers. Like that's what we're naturally here to do. So it doesn't mean that we avoid the darkness. It means we literally go into the darkness and conjure the light and shine our lights into dark spaces. So we do that. We get pulled out, and the human, like our human, can have a lot of pain in that. Our human can be like, oh my God, that sucks. It's so painful. Like I just lost this person. Why do I always feel alone? Right. And there's the lonely loner light worker story, right? Nobody ever, it's never in balance. It's no equal give and take. I give so much, blah, blah, blah. I know you guys all know this story. And it's okay to feel that pain, by the way, because that's like lifetimes upon lifetimes of like being in service to humanity and no one ever saying thank you and no one ever acknowledging like the conjuring of the light that you're doing and how hard that is in a world that is so dark and so demented, right? It's not easy. So anyways, we get kind of kicked out of this person's life, and then the divine tells us, trust that this person is now on their path. Trust that you just ignited a flame. Of course, they have free will choice, right? They can go off the deep end for a little bit while longer. They can choose a different path, but you have, through your witnessing, you have ignited something within them. You've ignited a flame. And there we go with our twin flames. It's why I actually kind of like the term twin flame. Obviously, there's a lot of misunderstanding of it out in the collective, but I kind of like it because to me, it's exactly what this journey is about. It is holding a flame within your heart, through the power, the superpower that is your heart, holding that flame and not needing anything from other people to keep that flame lit, right? It comes from within you. It's the divine light within you. It never goes out. It's eternal. It's infinite. And you just walk around living your life, being a human, struggling, you know, going through the hardship, feeling alone, being lonely, you know, all these things, going into doubt, going into fear, experiencing the devil on your shoulder, blah, 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 blah. But you're walking around with this light and you're igniting other people through your embodiment, through your experiential understanding of these concepts. And it's not through the words you say. It's not even, you know, it's not the books you write. It's none of that. Right? Like I'm fully aware that when I come on and I give a transmission, I'm communicating heart to heart. So if your heart's open and it resonates, then you take it on and you take it on through embodiment, through experiential understanding. That's when it feels like, oh my God, it's truth. That's why we know the resonance of truth. We can feel it in our bodies. It's true, right? But I also understand that my words can get misconstrued. They can get misunderstood. They can be molded, you know, morphed, projected onto, etc. All kinds of things can happen when somebody's listening to me through their head and not their heart. Right. And it's the same thing that happens in relationships, the misunderstandings, the conflicts, the miscommunications, when people cut you out of their life, or when you have the guidance to move out of somebody's life, all of these things, you know, when you're looking at it through the eyes of the head, it's safety, it's fear. I must protect myself. I must block myself from this love. I must shut down from this because it is unsafe. Whereas when you're in your heart, you're always safe, right? You're always safe. You're safe for the heart to break. You're safe to experience loss. You're safe to experience rejection. You're safe to experience ultimate bliss and abundance and gifts and profound ecstasy as well. Right? Because some people actually don't even so much struggle with pain and loss. They struggle with ecstasy, like the pure like burst of like that energy that is just so blissful. That's actually what they have a hard time receiving, right? Those are many of our beautiful divine masculines. That can be sometimes the hard part for them is they want to earn love and they want to work hard for it and they want to like get their hands dirty, and like if you give it to me right away and it's just this pure unconditional love, which reminds me of another message I'm gonna Yeah, I have a message about love at first sight that I'm gonna get out to you guys soon, to you guys on YouTube. Because that actually just connected for me. There was like a channel that connected there. If somebody just offers pure unconditional love right away without earning it, it's like the world tells you that that's a red flag, that you shouldn't trust that love at first sight is fake. It's not real. That's not real. That's like movie stuff, right? And the divine says otherwise. The divine says when it's pure and when it's true, that's all you need, right? But we have to strengthen our faith. That is what these journeys are about, strengthening our faith within ourselves. And only then, once we come into this alignment within our own faith and our own systems, can we now start to trust this other person? Can we now start to have faith in this connection, faith in the energy? Energy doesn't lie. Faith in what we feel. It doesn't matter if this person is sitting right in front of you and being like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. All you can feel is, I love you, I love you, I love you, right? And honestly, that's how strong we have to get in our faith. We have to get so strong. And it's not about the relationship. I want to say this, because apart from everything else, love, relationships, learning unconditional love, embodying inner union of masculine and feminine polarities within, blah, 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 all that stuff is beautiful, right? That's beautiful. But at the end of the day, we are still here in service to humanity and to assist in this awakening. And we are assisting in the emancipation of the slavery on this planet. We are assisting in freeing people from the oppression of this planet that has existed for a very, 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 very long time. At the end of the day, that's what we're here to do. It's only going to get harder. It's only going to get harder. And so we have to be so strong as energetic leaders in creating like new earth, new timelines, new freedom timelines. We have to be so strong in our own inner faith and our own inner trust of self and wisdom that we can't be gaslit by the powers that were, or, our community, or people out there, our families, people we love. Like, we cannot, with how hard things are going to get, the volume and the dial is only getting turned up, right? I've been sharing a lot about the things I've been seeing coming in the Patreon, if you're curious. But that's beside the point. The dial is only going to get stronger. And so we are going to have to be so solid in what we know and our truth and what we feel, and the energy doesn't lie. So even if, people in your life, organizations, groups, corporations, etc., are saying, no, we care about you. We care about you. We're doing what's right. We're doing what's right. And you feel that it's a lie, even though they might have like the receipts to prove, oh, we're doing the right thing. We're taking care of you. We care about you. But if you feel in your heart that not to be true, you're going to have to trust that heart, because that is new earth. That's what we're creating. Okay. Even people that you've trusted and on these journeys, or you've loved, or guides, or, teachers or friends or whatever that you've really connected with. And then all of a sudden, like, something in your heart is just telling you, it may not be a goodbye forever, but it may need to be a goodbye for right now, because there's some disconnect in your heart. There's something going on. And again, based on this whole transmission, it could be that you need to get stronger in your self-love so that this person's energy doesn't rattle you anymore. And how beautiful is that? Because now you're open to everyone and everything. You don't have to be afraid of darkness. You don't have to be afraid of entities, demonic attachments. You don't have to be afraid of the government. You don't have to be afraid of, you name it. Whatever it is that you kind of have fear of, because when you're really strong in that, nothing can rock you. You're solid, you're stable, you're grounded, you're rooted, you're protected, right? Because your higher self is your channel to all that is. It's the all-seeing, knowing, self-actualized, know thyself, right? Know thyself. That is the mystery school's gift to us, is just that tiny little mantra, know thyself. But when you are really in this place of wounding and fear and separation, even if you don't quite see it, even if you're a twin flame and you're on this twin flame journey and you feel like you're in inner union, but you're still feeling this conflict with people around you, or them just like, let's just say they make a comment, oh, you look tired. This is such a silly example. This is what I'm getting. It's like, when someone's like, oh, you look tired. And all of a sudden you're like, this person thinks I'm ugly. This person thinks I'm a hot mess. This person feels bad for me, feels sorry for me. The whole reason they're my friend is because they're pitying me, right? And going to all these extremes of like, now I can't trust this person, right? But you can tell that that's all fear, and that's all wounding. And that's that anytime there's a conflict. Whereas when you have strong faith in yourself and you know yourself, you can go, oh, you know what? Yeah, I do, because I like got 3 hours of sleep last night. I have no idea why. It's so weird. Or you can like go, oh no, I'm not tired at all. Like, I actually feel pretty refreshed. And then that's it. dismantled. No conflict. There's no conflict that needs to come at that. You don't need to be like, oh, this person's such an asshole. Like this, none of that drama is necessary anymore, right? The drama of having to cut people out of their life because they've hurt you and they've harmed you and they've disagreed with you and they've said something, right? None of that has to happen. Separation goes away, right? What is the nature of these journeys? Union. It's all one. So we don't have to separate ourselves. We don't have to put this like block or this protection around ourselves because we are our protector. We don't have to protect our hearts anymore because our hearts are the most magical superpower that we have, right? Okay, let me check my notes. Oh, okay. This is a really important point. When you do have to conjure the light and you do have to walk away from somebody, or a spirit kind of blocks somebody or something, and it feels like a loss, or it might feel like rejection. It's really important that you know that this doesn't mean that they don't love you, that they don't care about you, that they weren't grateful, that they don't appreciate what you did for them, but they're just still in their wounding or in a not as healed place that they're even capable of speaking that to you at that moment. It doesn't mean that, it just doesn't mean that anything, you need to make up any stories about yourself in that process, because as a light worker, as someone here in service to the collective, we really have to put our egos aside for that work. It really can't be about us. And I know that's hard because we still have to honor our human. We still have to take care of our human. We still have to acknowledge when our feelings are hurt, when we feel sad, when we feel alone, when we feel all this stuff, right? But that's that balance, right? That's why it's all about balance, is being able to honor the human while also holding that higher perspective from the higher self, that this wasn't about you. And that this doesn't mean that this person loves you. In fact, it probably means this person loves you a lot because they respect and love you enough to like remove themselves from your life if they are not able to match you in true vulnerability, in true intimacy, in a true relationship that you require. Not only that you require, but that you call forth in people. Because when you really get on this healing journey and you are conjuring the light and you are being used as a tool of the divines and you're no longer really living from the ego, you're more in your higher self, you are going to be used a lot. You're going to be guided into these places. And it's not about like, the only time that they start to do that is because you're strong enough. You have strong enough faith. You're ready for that work. You're ready to hold the light. You're ready to conjure the light. You're like, you're good. And so whatever happens in that realm, the divine trust that you're going to trust your heart. And so you're going to know what's true. Even if people are telling you, you're an asshole, this is your fault, you ruined this, you, whatever people are telling you, right? Out of their wounding. Okay. It's true intimacy. You are calling forward true intimacy from people. And so that might look like you being very, very alone for a time. Because wounded people find each other when we have the similar fears, when we have similar hurts, when we have similar pains, we flock together. Sometimes we really help each other through that process, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we stagnate each other, like the crabs in the bucket analogy that I always bring up, where when you're hunting crabs, I don't know, I've never done it, but I guess you don't actually have to put anything over the bucket to keep them in the bucket, because if one crab tries to crawl out and escape, the rest of the crabs will like crawl up and pull him back down, because it's like, you know, misery loves company, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure it's a expression, a manifestation from our collective consciousness, if I'm honest. Like, it's not that the crabs are these jerks. No. That's mirror. That's a mirror for us of our society, what we've created, right? That's truly how I see it anyways. Okay. Yeah, because this is the thing. The divine is going to keep you alone, keep you apart from people, if there's going to be any sort of an imbalance, right? If there's an imbalance at all, the divine would rather the divine wants balance, right? The universe, that's like one of the laws of nature, like balance, harmony, right? So if there's going to be an imbalance for too long without the lessons being learned, it causes more chaos. And we're not here to be chaos causers. We're here to bring balance and harmony. That's literally what we're here to do. So I know from the human's perspective, it can be really hard. But that's where the faith comes in. That's where the knowing. And again, obviously I can see the things that they're having me say right now are so connected to these twin flame journeys, where when you can really see it from that perspective, you can see it is true love. It's unconditional love. And when you start to feel this person's energy and presence in a more balanced and healed way, and you start to get the intuitive like hits that like life would it doesn't feel like this person would be draining from me or taking from me. It feels like life would be a lot better or easier or more joyful or more expressive or more fun even, or all these things. That's how you know that shift has really occurred in your healing. And then it's really up to you to act on those impulses and to trust love, to trust the energy, right? Energy doesn't lie. So if you feel that love and you feel that coming in that channel between the twins, that's that faith test. And it seems like the last faith test is really extending that olive branch, or extending that offer after a long time of being on these faith testing journeys in isolation, in solitude, and kind of learning with the mirrors of other people, or the mirrors of the world, or the mirrors of these things, and just, you know, going through all the pain and the healing in that. I don't know what that was just now. That was really funny. I just like got excited. I don't know. It was really weird. I don't even know if it was connected to what I was talking about, if I'm honest. Anywho, okay. I think this is what I have for you now. I hope this is making sense and giving some clarity to these journeys and what they're all about. They're not meant to make you suffer. They're not meant to make you miserable. They're not meant to, you know, other people can find love and have happiness and all these things, and you can't. But again, when the world does push back on you, why are you still single? Like, why aren't you married? Why haven't you had kids? Like, what's going on with you, right? And as feminines, I know we get that shit a lot. I think masculines are a little bit more let off the hook with that, but maybe not. And just like the world projecting and judging you, like, you know, what's going on with you? You know, like, ugh, I don't understand. Like, what, you know what I mean? When they're projecting all that stuff, that again is part of that faith test. You know, you don't have to share your truth with anybody, especially people in that energy, because no matter what you say, they're not going to understand it. So it's probably better to keep that, you know, to keep the connection sacred and private. But you know, if you're lucky enough to have people that you can share honestly about, it's going to be an expansion for that person as well, because this gift of this like true unconditional love is such a beacon of hope and light for people, and such a model of what's possible, what could be possible if they stopped settling, what could be possible if they really loved themselves. Because that's really what the twin connections are supposed to do too, especially once in union, is like to prove spirituality, prove faith, conquer people's disbeliefs in love, in their own worthiness. And oh my God, love does exist. Like, I can be fully accepted for exactly who I am, no matter what. I don't have to be forsaken, right? Because that's how the divine loves us, right? That's divine mother, divine father, right? There's nothing we can do to lose that love, or, you know, and that's not what a lot of religions teach, unfortunately, but that's part of our work. And we got a lot of work to do here on this planet, you guys. Okay, I keep looking down at my notes, but I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I hope this is helpful. I hope this is helpful. I've been so lit up lately with clarity and ahas coming in. And like I said, I knew, like, when this faith thing came in through a client session, I was like, damn, it's so simple. Like, it's so radically simple. But that doesn't mean it's easy in practice when you're going through it, when you're experiencing it, right? Because we're human, we're still human. And a lot of people had the misguided belief, I think, that ascension meant we leave our human bodies, like that we reject our human, that like, fuck you, human, like, see you later, earth. But it's actually the opposite. It's like, what's so beautiful and what's so unique about this time, and what we weren't able to do in Atlantis, is like, we are ascending in our human bodies, in our vessels. Earth is ascending, right? The planet is ascending. So that's pretty freaking cool when you think about it. And so the human body should not be neglected, right? The human body is not your enemy. The human body is what keeps you strong, is what keeps you grounded, is what keeps you rooted. And I know that's a tough journey for feminines. I think feminines have such oftentimes traumatized, wounded disassociation sort of things when they get on these journeys. And it's also why they energetically, emotionally run from the masculines, because they can't handle that love. They're like, yeah, it's a lot. And obviously feminines, they're going to express most of their stuff in the higher and like the emotional, right? In the astral and the emotional, where masculines they like literally run because they express everything through the physical, through the tangible, the material world, right? And that's not a gender thing, that's just an energy thing. So anywho, okay, I think I've said enough. If you really want to dive in deeper and know more, because there's just so many exciting things coming through, check out the Patreon. The link will be down in the description if you want to work with me in a one-on-one container. All that information will be below. And thank you for liking this. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for viewing, commenting. I love interacting with you guys. I'm sure you guys hear every YouTube creator, maybe not every, but a lot of the YouTube creators that you really like, probably you hear us talking about the censorship, but it's crazy. It's really weird, especially for like a small channel like mine. But I'll just give you context. Like, when I first started, my channel was growing like intensely. Like it grew to where it is now in like a couple months, like really quick. And then it stopped for years. And so it hasn't grown. And I've heard other people talk about that. And so they really do censor content that is of love, of a love frequency. They really, really do, which is sad. But of course, like, we're obviously not victims to it, but we do know that this information can really help people. A lot of the creators like myself, where we're like, oh, damn, like, this is a real thing. Like, this is not just a conspiracy. Like, this is a real thing. They really do block channels of pure love, and they pump out channels of fear. Any channel that has a lot of like that fear attachment type of stuff that gets a lot of views, even in the twin flame community, especially in the twin flame community, right? So anyways, your support means the world. I'm 100% supported by you. I don't work for the man or the matrix anymore. So your support goes a long way. And even just, you know, for less than a cup of coffee a month, like supporting in the Patreon in the lowest tier, and you do get content there. But if that's a way you want to give back to the channel, that's really, really appreciated. And yeah, there's also a lot of cool stuff in there to support you on your journey. So lots of love. I'll see y'all soon.